radical left has taken over the Democratic Party.
Hello and welcome to Think Progressively, covering politics and all the other chaos life has to offer. This is episode 125, recorded on Friday, May 24th from Milwaukee. I'm Joe.
And I'm Jason.
And on today's episode, we're going to dive into the question, did Joe Biden try to assassinate Donald Trump? No, he didn't. But we're going to look at it anyway. But first, the headlines.
I got along with him well, although he did announce the other day that he'd much rather see Biden as president. And I agree with him. I agree.
First up in headlines,
We got Supreme Court news.
let's talk about Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito's flags. The most important story.
So we'd even discussed this beforehand where we weren't going to put the story in because we just didn't want to. But we have other stuff we want to talk about, so we have to talk about this anyway.
So last week, there was some controversy surrounding the bought and paid for member of the Supreme Court, Samuel Alito, and the American flag that was flown upside down, which is supposed to be a sign of distress, outside of his home in the wake of the January 6th failed insurrection. The upside-down flag was also carried by a number of insurrectionists during that insurrection attempt.
So now here's the thing, though. We already expect this type of crap out of Alito, right? Like, this was not surprising to me in any way. Like, oh, sure, of course he did that. Why would he not?
I mean, Ginny Thomas was literally a part of the insurrection. Right. She was trying to make it happen. The wife of another Supreme Court justice. So, following that same theme.
That's why I love this story, is because I love Alito's story for this.
Yes. Alito claimed the flag was put up by his wife. They're all in a cabal due to a dispute with neighbors, and that he had no knowledge of it.
Yeah, according to articles that I've read, apparently the neighbor put up an F Trump flag, and then Alito's wife had a problem with that, which
I have seen plenty of F Biden flags.
No
I've
kidding.
never actually seen an F Trump flag.
No kidding. But even then, fine. And I guess the wife had a problem with that, so she confronted the neighbor, to which the neighbor called her the C word and said that she was in favor of the insurrection.
Which probably is, being the wife of Samuel Alito.
And that prompted the wife to turn the flag upside down and say, Our country is in turmoil.
So, to further this story...
Yeah, that was supposed to be it. That was supposed to be the controversy.
This week, it has come to light that Samuel Alito has another flag that was used by January 6th insurrectionists at his vacation home in the place of his birth, New Jersey. The Appeal to Heaven flag, which features a pine tree on a white field with the words, "and appeal to heaven," written above. So far, Samuel Alito and his wife have had no comment on this flag, and many conservatives have pointed out that the flag was merely the one used by George Washington and was the maritime flag of Massachusetts for 200 years.
So I read a National Review article that had that exact argument. It's like, don't buy the BS about the flag. And then it was basically just like this one guy ranting about all these liberals and news media outlets are trying to just crucify Justice Alito for hanging this flag up on his house, but it's just the flag that George Washington used. Why can't he be patriotic like George Washington?
Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, also has the Appeal to Heaven flag outside of his office.
And that's because it's a Christian nationalist flag.
And both Samuel Alito and Mike Johnson are Christian nationalists.
Yes.
Now, should a Supreme Court justice who is supposed to be fair and impartial and not carry any bias be flying a Christian nationalist flag? Probably not. But is this somehow worse than the fact that he literally takes bribes from conservative billionaires?
Exactly.
No.
100%. And that's where I'm not really, and this is why we weren't going to originally talk about this before, because I'm so disillusioned with our court system.
Yeah, the Supreme Court, we already know, is incredibly corrupt.
But even without the corruptness, Jason, I'm so disillusioned with the idea that our court is supposed to be fair and balanced and neutral and whatever you want to try to call them. You know, people are saying, well, he should recuse himself. I don't care.
Not gonna happen.
I just don't care, because at the end of the day, we know exactly how how these people feel about politics. We know exactly what issues they support and what issues they care about. And we already know they're willing to just bend the made up rules that we've, I guess, written down to secure ourselves, or at least delude ourselves to make us feel better and thinking we have control and stability in this country. Because with all of that, these justices and the courts I have seen over and over and over again, not just even with this court, but going back decades and generations, they just make it up. So I am no longer caring about the supposed neutrality of the court. Just see the court as a third political branch, like the legislative branch and the executive branch. And if you want particular outcomes to happen from the court, you better participate in the political system and vote. And if you want particular things to happen specifically on the Supreme Court, that should impact your vote for president. I just don't know any other way to see it. Because when we have all these Democrats fawning over this idea or feigning this idea that, oh my gosh, this is such a horrible and
my
mistrust.
decorum.
Right. I don't care about decorum anymore. We know it's all made up. Stop pretending and get involved. The reason why Trump won was because conservatives wanted to appoint a super right-wing justice to the Supreme Court. They took that into consideration. We didn't. So why are we still acting surprised when we have crazy right-wing judges and doing crazy right-wing things?
They knew for a fact that there was a Supreme Court seat up in the balance because, as we talk about all the time, Mitch McConnell illegally held up the appointment of Merrick Garland in order to wait for the election.
Right.
So they held their nose and they voted for Donald Trump, who no one would really consider a real staunch conservative. He just does whatever favors him best.
Right. And they, including Mitch McConnell, knew very well to view the court system as another political branch and not this weird umpire illusion that we want to think it is. And we actually have good example of that in our next story because Alito also penned the majority opinion for a South Carolina gerrymandering case where in a 6-3 vote along ideological lines, of course, the court upheld a redistricting map drawn by the South Carolina legislature, a map that a lower court found had resulted in the, quote, bleaching of African American voters. This is another huge blow to the idea of ending gerrymandering and having fair maps and fair elections. I don't understand, number one, how you can even come to the decision that this was not a race-based gerrymander.
Well, and it's a further attack on the Voting Rights Act and the Constitution.
Well, and let's explain what happened too, because the state legislature moved about 200,000 black voters into different districts and chopped up the Charleston County area, stripping their Congressional District 1 and much of the city of Charleston and ending the city's 120-year history as an anchor for the district. And basically, they just chopped it all up to disenfranchise about 200,000 black voters. The court not only overruled the lower court that said this was an obvious racial gerrymander, it actually did what it was never supposed to do and completely re-examined the facts to come up with its own conclusions, which I'm surprised more people aren't talking about that with the story because that's freaking crazy and unprecedented. The idea that you just throw out the general process of lower courts and then just review the facts on your own terms just to create any conclusion that you want is terrifying. And again, another example of how our court system just makes things up as they feel like it. And like I said, Justice Alito penned the majority opinion and said that the South Carolina map was a partisan gerrymander and not a racial gerrymander under the Constitution. And in short, he said
they just happened to be black.
Basically, that's what it was. He said the map achieved the GOP's political goals and nothing more. Which even then, you give the game away when you're completely saying that the GOP is rigging the electoral system to win elections.
And it just happens to primarily hurt black voters.
Right. But
that's just the side effect. That's not the intention.
But this goes back to the previous Supreme Court decision where they said that we're not going to touch partisan gerrymandering.
It's up to the states to decide. So does not give me much hope for our own newly drawn maps here in Wisconsin.
No, this is scary, man. Like, what are you supposed to do?
Nothing I can say that would be legal to say on this podcast. I know what you can do, but I
hate that you and I had the exact same first thought. And I'm like,
It involves guillotines. That's all I can legally say.
Just don't fall for the we're a neutral court nonsense. It's not true. And I hate when people say that. And I hate when Democrats say it.
Let's move to our Trump dates for the week. First up, in the hush money trial, both sides have now rested and will resume with closing arguments on Tuesday. Obviously, they're off for Memorial Day, so not much happened in that trial. I believe they only had one day.
Yeah, about.
On Monday. There was, on Monday, some more commotion within the Trump campaign when a video was posted to the Real Donald Trump Truth Social account. Trump himself was on a lunch break during the trial at the time. The video posed the question, what happens after Donald Trump wins? Along with fictional newspaper headlines declaring that Trump won in a landslide. The smaller print under the headline, what's next for America, is rather concerning. Now, it's hard to see, and you have to look at videos like zoomed in of this headline, but it says, industrial strength and production had significantly increased, driven by the creation of a unified Reich. And immediately, both President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris spoke out against the ad, equating it with Nazi rhetoric. And here's some audio that I totally didn't steal directly from Pod Save America.
Okay. You gotta love Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to just cheese up a really good opportunity, you know?
And the post was deleted early Tuesday morning after being online for around 18 hours. Trump's spokeswoman, Caroline Leavitt, said the post, quote, was not a campaign video. It was created by a random account online and reposted by a staffer who clearly did not see the word while the president was in court. And I assume that word is just Reich. Like,
right.
They're okay with everything else, just not Reich.
And again, it's just, okay, cool. So we're going you're not intentionally racial and Nazi-like. You're just
accidentally.
Ineptly Nazi-like.
So Trump does not really deserve any benefit of the doubt when it comes to embracing dictators and fascists and Nazi propaganda. The issue is really, the headline's not from Nazi Germany. It's actually from World War I era Germany before Hitler or the Third Reich ever came to be. The video was created by the Dilly Meme Team.
What is that?
Run by failed Arizona congressional candidate Brendan Dilly.
Oh, of course.
Who is extremely bigoted and frequently uses anti-gay slurs on his podcast and Dilly Show webcast.
Ah, Jesus.
The group has had ties to the Trump campaign since the 2022 midterm elections and has made other videos showing Joe Biden stumbling, things like that have been shown at Trump rallies in the past. He's also made videos for Carrie Lake, who has thanked him personally.
Of course.
They used some sort of like meme generator, like you can download the kind of pre-done video and then you put your own headlines and images and stuff in it.
Yeah.
I don't know why they specifically chose a World War I era newspaper talking about Germany. That still seems like a rather odd choice. But why would they
pick that to begin with?
Yeah, they had to have seen it because they could see the image much larger than we can when they're constructing this. So they definitely saw it and were like, yep, that's what we want. And then you look into the guy and the other stuff that he's done and it's way worse.
Ugh.
The stuff that Trump has reposted and shown from this group or this guy or whatever is very much the sanitized versions of some of the stuff that he's done. It's a lot of it has been like primary stuff, so like attacking Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, calling Nikki Haley a prostitute.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's really gross, horrible stuff. So they do deserve whatever hate they get from this, but it's not really Nazi stuff. Sorry to President Biden and Vice President Harris.
Right. Oh, and I will say, for what it's worth, though, I liked what I think it was Dan Pfeiffer on Pod Save America said about this, which is Donald Trump, every president has mistakes and gaffes and leaks come out and things like that, right? Donald Trump never has a mistake or a leak that accidentally shows him supporting healthcare policy.
Right.
Or like climate policy.
Nothing that's like good for the world in general.
It's always Nazi stuff.
Yeah.
Every time.
Well, and if you want to get angry about this ad, look at the headlines in the later part of the video where it talks about the border being closed and 15 million immigrants being deported from America. That's like explicitly the message. That's not like a artifact left over from something they
typed that
pasted.
in.
Right. That's the more concerning point. Donald Trump and his team were fine with that. They just didn't like the word Reich that was in there. And the same thing with Biden and Harris. Attack the actual substance of that message. That's what I would be upset about personally.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
And our last Trump date, Nikki Haley says that she will vote for Donald Trump.
Boo.
The headlines I saw were like, well, she doesn't say she's going to endorse him.
Just vote for him.
Yeah, well, that is the same thing. What is an endorsement if not saying that you are going to vote for this person? I figured it would be fun to look at some of the things that Nikki Haley has previously said about Donald Trump.
All right, let's do it.
She called him toxic, says he lacks moral clarity, is unhinged, doesn't know how to fix things, is chaotic and irresponsible, doesn't know the difference between right and wrong, is a bully who's getting meaner and more offensive by the day, and is unfit to be president. She also vowed not to, quote, kiss the ring because she was not looking for anything from him.
Oh, how the turns have tabled.
So after Nikki Haley has indeed bowed and deeply kissed the ring with tongue, her benevolent master had this to say to News 12 New York. I think she's going to be on our team because we have a lot of the same ideas, the same thoughts, which is scary as hell for Nikki Haley. I appreciated what she said. You know, we had a nasty campaign. It was pretty nasty. But she's a very capable person, and I'm sure she's going to be on our team in some form. Absolutely.
Gross, Nikki.
So there you go. Nikki sold her soul for a position in the Trump administration. Way to make a stand for yourself.
Well, and I wasn't expecting anything different. I mean, she is a Republican at the end of the day. I was actually expecting her to probably stay quiet for longer, but whatever at this point. I never expected her to like officially say I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump or anything like that, but because I know she has absolutely no spine at all. And also on top of that, like I know we've talked about this before, but it's just so gross and cult-like and weird where like the second someone says something nice about Donald Trump, the tune just changes immediately from like just the worst horrible messages where he says like we had a nasty campaign, like yeah, like he led an onslaught against her. And he did the same thing to Ron DeSantis as well. And Ron DeSantis like couldn't even like have enough backbone to even try to criticize the guy.
Right. Yeah. Never actually went after him.
But the second both of them just, like you said, kiss the ring. Oh, nope. Now it's fine. You're good now. You fell back in line.
Same thing happened with Ted Cruz.
Yep.
Marco Rubio.
Yep.
Same thing happened
Lindsey
at least
Graham.
for a while. Well, yeah, Lindsey Graham definitely is still inside of Donald Trump's colon. Mitt Romney escaped, but there was a time where even he bent down and kissed the ring. There's that photos of him having dinner with Donald Trump, looking like a kicked dog, which he definitely knows what a kicked dog looks like. You've heard any of the other stories about Mitt Romney.
But it's just so scary, man. I hate it.
And to close out headlines, the International Court of Justice has ordered Israel to halt the offensive in Rafah.
All right. No more war.
Yeah, war over, everybody.
It's done. We did it, everybody.
Judges at the top United Nations Court ordered Israel on Friday to immediately halt its military assault on the southern Gaza city of Rafah in a landmark emergency ruling in South Africa's case accusing Israel of genocide, per the article that we will link from Reuters. The ICJ has ordered Israel to open the Rafah crossing between Egypt and Gaza to let in aid. Israel, it added, must provide access for investigators and report back on its progress within 1 month. The order was adopted by the panel of 15 international judges in a 13-2 vote, opposed only by judges from Uganda, which has its own shady history with attempted genocide, and Israel itself. So this solves it, right?
We did it.
Well, the ICJ, based in The Hague, which that court sprang from the Nuremberg trials, is the highest UN body for hearing disputes between states. Its rulings are final and binding and have been ignored in the past, as the court has no enforcement powers. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
I guess the thing is, what I hope is that this just puts more pressure on Biden. That's what I hope more than anything else. It ain't going to do a damn thing for Israel and Netanyahu, but I hope it does something for Biden.
And this This, of course, also comes less than a week after the International Criminal Court has asked for arrest warrants to be issued for both the leaders of Hamas and Israel, including President Netanyahu, over war crimes committed in Gaza.
I'm sure that'll happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's been an arrest warrant pending for some time now for Vladimir Putin over the invasion of Ukraine. Good luck, I guess. Yes, as you said, hopefully this will just continue the pressure on the United States to stop providing money and weapons and cover to Israel, stop vetoing all of the UN Security Council resolutions.
Right, especially when the entire world is against you on this.
Yes, you are not the good guys. Clearly, we are on the wrong side of history here.
Well, usually people who are okay with genocide are usually on the wrong side of history.
That's usually the way it goes. Where Republicans are already lining up to try to censure the International Criminal Court.
So we, hopefully, together will find a way to register our displeasure with the ICC, because if they'll do this to Israel, we're next. This group tried to come after our soldiers. Yeah, you can clap all you want to. They tried to come after our soldiers in Afghanistan, but reason prevailed. So at the end of the day here, what I hope to happen is that we level sanctions against the ICC for this outrage to not only help our friends in Israel, but protect ourselves over time.
That's their response.
That's wild. We're going to censure the world.
The World Court. The court that's literally in place to stop rogue countries from just pushing their own idea of justice. Nope, we're not having any of it.
Jesus Christ.
It is funny as shit when everybody starts clapping.
Yeah, that is wild. I did not see that before.
What are they going to do next? Come after the United States for committing war crimes?
Yeah!
Yes.
Yeah,
as they should. And I'm sure many war crimes were committed in Afghanistan.
He gives a literal example.
Right.
Hey, remember when we were committing war crimes in Afghanistan?
And they tried to come after our soldiers?
Oh, buddy.
Just because you purposefully kill a bunch of civilians, just some boys blowing off steam.
Well, I saw another thing where it was like, we should not hold Israel to a double standard of what like other U.S. military operations do. The casualty to like KIA ratio, of actual like opponents, or what do you call them? Combatants, thank you, is about 1-to-1, which is about on the same level of like what the
So you're killing as many civilians as you are combatant. That's even just which is not true at all, but even in your world, 50%. And for every enemy combatant you kill, you also kill a civilian?
But then they use it to justify, like, that's what America has done.
Right.
So I don't know where the real problem is. Like, that's not a good thing. That's not a good ratio. What are we doing? Oh boy.
But they hate us for our freedom, Joe.
Yeah.
They hate us because of our freedom.
Yeah, it's the freedom. It's the they hate us because they ain't us thing. It's not the bombs.
And the killing all of the innocent civilians.
M&Ms will not be satisfied until every last cartoon character is deeply unappealing and totally androgynous. Until the moment you wouldn't want to have a drink with any one of them. That's the goal. When you're totally turned off, they've won.
Boy ain't right.
In Foxed in the Head this week, we learn that gamers are the worst people in the world.
Well, okay, now, not all gamers, right? Like this is a real big thing.
It's a lot.
I'm a gamer, and I don't want to be lumped in with this. I'm a real nice person. I have a good personality. All right, people find me funny, and I'm good to talk to. I don't understand what. Shut up!
It's bad.
I was gonna go even worse, like start going to like real things, but then I realized I was just gonna get to like racial slurs after I did that, so I chose not to.
Just like every online lobby,
12-year-old online,
every video game. So no, we are not going to talk about Stellar Blade and the outrage over an alternate outfit being made slightly less revealing, which literally caused Sony to offer refunds for the game.
I didn't know about that one either.
And we're not even going to talk about the recent controversy surrounding the gender identity of a 2D fictional Shadow Witch from Paper Mario.
Okay, legit though, I didn't know about that one, and I just started the remake, which is so far so good. And I actually learned some cool history that apparently this is how it was back when the game first came out in Japan, but America was too transphobic.
Right.
And now they fixed it.
So when you get to Vivian, you can...
I'm excited. I get to see the real story now.
Yeah, be sure to gender Vivian appropriately.
I will.
But we are actually talking about the outrage in the gaming community because of the newest Assassin's Creed game, Assassin's Creed Shadows, features a black person as one of the main characters.
Ba ba ba.
Now, I've played, I played the first 2 Assassin's Creed games.
Oh, see, I beat you. I played the first 3.
For PlayStation 3. I did enjoy both of them. I think I missed like a couple. There was, then they just started releasing so many Assassin's Creed games that I got lost. And one of them was like an online only, like multiplayer game, and I wasn't interested in that. And there was pirates and Vikings and Greek and all this stuff, and I just couldn't keep up with it. So I kind of lost the franchise over time.
3 is good. You should play 3. 3 is very good.
Which one is 3? I don't even remember. Is it just 3?
That's the most freedom one.
Is that's the American Revolution one?
Yeah, freedom.
Okay.
Assassin's Creed 3, freedom.
They are all, of course, very, very historically accurate.
Yeah, they're real accurate.
In the first one, I think I killed the Pope at one point.
Or something like that, yeah.
It's been a long time, but the storyline was something about uncovering that aliens had like engineered humanity and had like enslaved them or something. Something to that effect. It just, again, just historical fact.
Yeah. In the second game, you get to befriend Leonardo da Vinci, and he becomes like an assassin assistant. So
He builds all your gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do kind of, again, it's been a long time, and I'm sure I'm mixing up which one's which in the first 2, but,
Racist.
and it's like even the whole thing is you're just in a simulation anyway.
Right.
You play like the descendant of the character, and you like relive their experiences through some kind of simulation. But of course, nothing, that's all fine. That's all, again, 100% historically accurate and true, but you can't have a black guy in the Japanese samurai Assassin's Creed game. That's just too much. So let's listen to Basement Piss Baby and Embarrassment to the State of Wisconsin, Jeremy, aka The Quartering.
Let's get a little start. So the media has now started to run their mad defense skills here. Their defensive mechanism has been triggered. You see articles from Time Magazine. Assassin's Creed fans slam decision to include black samurai in feudal Japan story. Well, they should. What's great about this, friends, is that there is a built-in shield here where we can call out woke DEI nonsense, and they can't just immediately put their finger in your face and call you like a supremacist or something. I'm not Japanese. I'm not offended by this. I'm just pointing out that you very clearly erased Japanese culture to push the message.
I think I found something I hate more than white people getting angry about DEI attacking white people. It's white people getting angry about DEI attacking on behalf of other races.
Well, which makes no sense anyway.
I'm not offended.
I thought the whole reason that they were upset about DEI is because it specifically targets white people, because we're the only non-protected race. We're the only one that it's legal to discriminate against. DEI is racist towards white people. So how is it DEI if it's a black character when you would normally expect a Japanese character? They're both minorities. Why? I thought they didn't believe in intersectionality. Why is it more diverse if there's a black guy instead of an Asian character, a Japanese guy?
Right.
So it makes no sense. Why is he upset?
I don't know. Well, okay, we know actually why he's upset.
It's the outrage machine, and it's how they get clicks, and they have to keep fueling it. But there's also just the see black person in video game get angry.
Yeah, that's all it is.
And I like how he had to be racist by doing the voice.
I know. Like, man, you did not have to literally do the voice when you're trying to call out supposed racism. You did the racism in your own video.
Yeah, go move to Texas and be with Joe Rogan already.
Jason.
Get out of my state.
We could talk to this guy. He's like 45 minutes away, max. We could talk to him.
There wouldn't be much talking.
Oh.
So let's now hear what YouTuber and amateur Japanese historian 8-Bit Eric has to say. And I picked this clip because I think it kind of sums up most of the arguments that you're hearing about this.
Okay.
They made a mistake choosing to go with Yasuke as the main protagonist. Yes, the first black samurai, as they're referring to him, who survives a pirate raid from a slave ship, and he gets taught the ways of the samurai. Yeah, it sounds cool on paper, but let's be honest. The only reason why they're using this character is because it's a black character, and video game companies, movie studios, you name it, they're all catering to this wokeness. They all want POCs and anything but historically accurate stuff. They're revisionist historians, guys. They like to rewrite plots and make things up as they go in order to cater to the politically correct people that are out there that are flooding the video game industry.
Jesus. Oh.
They like to rewrite plots of games that they invented and just make stuff up, just like every video game.
Again, you want to talk to me about how it rewrote American history? No?
You mean in Renaissance era Italy, people weren't diving from the top of church bell towers into carts of hay constantly? That wasn't a thing?
Ugh.
So finally, and this is kind of going to give it away.
You kind of got a taste of what happened already and what we're going to say
Right.
next. But this is my favorite. I love this so much. This is Brett Cooper,
The escaped female clone of Ben Shapiro.
who, if you don't remember, where she talked about how much she wanted to be a Boy Scout so bad, and she couldn't because of conservative nonsense, and then gets angry that girls are in the Boy Scouts. It's the dumbest thing ever. Anyway, she does it again where
She wants to be, she wants to
thinks this is
continue
cool.
this outrage machine of like, we have to be angry at the black guy in the Japanese video
but she
game.
likes it. Oh, just play it. It's so fun.
And I do want to say, though, I did have to heavily edit this
I know.
because she's just constantly pitching stuff throughout this.
I know, it's
So
annoying.
you'll notice where the edits are. I think it's pretty obvious. But I had to keep cutting out the, like, oh, subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and all that.
Well, and it doesn't like help either that she like they already edit her so crazily that it's just nonstop the entire time. Like, how do you even watch a whole video of this? This is just so tough. Like, take a breath.
Well, being the female clone of Ben Shapiro.
No kidding.
That is his style, after all.
So there's a new Assassin's Creed game coming out in November, I think it's November 15th, and it is called Assassin's Creed Shadows, and it will be set in feudal Japan. But fans were obviously very confused when they realized that the main protagonist was a black man, a black samurai. And obviously they have questions we need to discuss. Exactly what I think of when I think of feudal Japan. Ever cracked open a history book? People obviously, like I've said multiple times now, pointed out the fact that it was interesting that even though it is set in feudal Japan, they chose a black protagonist. And to be fair, this character, Yasuke, was a real person. There's even a whole book about him called The African Samurai, and the story does seem fascinating. Here is the cover of the book. You can go look into it. The true story of Yasuke, a legendary black warrior in feudal Japan. One article about him said that he was an enslaved man from East Africa transported by the Portuguese to Japan. Sounds very much like Shogun. This is why I'm so into this. Left behind there with a Jesuit mission, he came to be known as Yasuke and fought alongside the feudal lord Oda Nobunaga and became Japan's first foreign-born samurai. This is very cool. Like, instantly, I see that book cover, I read this, I want to know more. It does sound like a very cool story. Like, who knows? Maybe this will become my newest hyperfixation.
And also I had to cut out at the end of that was just a prelude to an ad.
Yeah, it was. It's like, you know what else I'm
Like,
fixated on?
my health.
dog. Yeah.
It was like some healthcare product.
So
So
it's like-
in between the ads, she is trying to tell the story about like how terrible this is that they have a black character in this story taking place in feudal Japan, but just cannot overcome the fact that she thinks it's so cool.
Right.
And she wants to play
Well,
it. She's not
okay.
She talks about how she's not a gamer, but the fact that this is the character and his history, that it's enough to make her want to play the game.
Right. Okay. So that's the first thing I want to talk about with this, because now you had it with 8-Bit Eric as well. Both Eric and Britt admitted that this is a cool story. Eric even said, yeah, but it's like this
On paper, it's cool.
It's like this Yasuke guy who I guess was like a slave, and he escaped a slave ship and like got trained to be a samurai warrior. I guess that sounds cool, but not really. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, what? That sounds dope as hell. I would play a game like that.
And as much as they want to complain that, like, it's revisionist history, Yasuke will be the first actual historical figure to be a playable character in Assassin's Creed.
Yes.
Out of, like, the 15 games that they've made, this is the first actual historical figure in one of these games, and everyone's complaining about him because he's black, and he's only there because it's DEI. What?
Oh.
So I want to pose the question, is Ubisoft pushing some nefarious, woke, CRT, DEI agenda to turn kids black?
Man, if they are, it's the coolest agenda ever. I'm on board with this agenda.
How does this push the agenda of diversity, equity, inclusion? By, instead of having the stereotypical Japanese samurai character, you take a historical oddity, the lone black samurai, and you make the story about him. How does that further the cause of DEI? How is that pushing the message, as dumbass Jeremy said? How is that pushing the agenda?
Well, what makes me angry, and I don't know if you had it in either the Quartering Eric's or Brit's videos, but I know in the Quartering and Brit's videos, because at least I watched those, they both talked about how, yeah, this is a cool story, but there's some nefarious underlying purpose of why
so what
they
is
do
it?
this.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
What?
Why can't it just be a cool story? And I'll be the first one to admit, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that like I'm some like high level intellectual individual who actually knew about Yasuke before this happened. I had no clue who Yasuke was. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually kind of like Brit, fascinated now with the story because again, it sounds like a really cool story.
And you even have some people trying to literally be amateur historians now and like, well, really, Yasuke wasn't a samurai. He was just a retainer.
I know.
And it's like, no. So I don't want to get into that.
Okay, but I kind of not really do, but I kind of do because again, I'm sorry, wouldn't they do this with all the other Assassin's Creed characters? Wouldn't they talk about like, well, actually, again, like
Ezio wasn't a real assassin.
Well, or just like, well, actually, Paul Revere wasn't actually in a secret society. Okay, that's not really historically accurate. And like the guy who actually trained the maker wasn't really like an assassin either. So I don't know what we're talking. He's just like a guy. No, you don't do that in those games. It was only when an actual historical figure who happened to be black is doing this. That is the only time you're trying to call out again. I'm losing my mind here. If we're an Assassin's Creed game that makes up the history.
Yeah. Again, I don't think the Pope was killed by an assassin.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure I killed the Pope in one of those games. This is the
only time you would actually try to find, well, technically he wasn't really a samurai. Who cares? I don't even care. I don't even care if he actually wasn't a samurai and they just made it for this game to be possible. I don't care. It's just cooler that way.
That's what I mean. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't need to get into like the nitty gritty of the history and try to figure out like what's the difference between the two. Was he regarded? Was he not? One, because I'm not a historian.
Right.
And I'm not going to pretend I am. And neither are any of these dweebs. So, okay, they're not trying to turn your kids black.
Yes.
Why would they make one of the two, by the way, which is, no one seems to mention this. There are two main characters.
It's because she's a woman and I don't care.
There is Fujibayashi Naoe, a Japanese female shinobi. More woke agenda. It's gotta be
Why can't be a man?
Why is it gotta be a Konoichi? So why did they make one of those two characters black? Well, one of the reasons given by the developers in a video I watched was to have the player be introduced to Japan as an outsider, along with their character, who would also be an outsider, and to learn about Japan along with that character.
Again, sounds like a really dope idea.
There was also a recent popular video game, Ghost of Tsushima.
Thank you.
Which featured a Japanese samurai character.
Okay, because I was going to rant about this too.
So, in an effort to differentiate...
Right, that's the thing, because Ghost of Tsushima was critically acclaimed for how accurate it was of feudal Japan. In that game, you play a Japanese man who's a samurai.
And that game only came out 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was a 2020 game. Okay, cool. Sounds great. That was done already. Why would Assassin's Creed do that again? And again, what drives me even more nuts, in these other videos where they're complaining about this guy being black, they're also already trying to criticize the game. Like, well, it's just like a worse version of Ghost of Tsushima. That's why they're changing it. That's why they had a different angle. Are you kidding me?
And third, there's been a long history of Black and Asian cultural appreciation. You have from the Wu-Tang Clan and their use of kung fu movie theming all over their music and their branding and everything, to the anime series Samurai Champloo, which is set in a quasi-Edo period Japan and heavily features hip-hop influences. And there's even the classic manga Afro Samurai, which is literally based on the story of Yasuke.
Well, and I'll even go a step further. Was it like a year or two ago? They also came out on Netflix with
Yeah,
a
it was a couple years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. With a Yasuke anime.
But that is American. I mean, it's American and Japanese, but like Afro Samurai was 100% Japanese.
Right.
So all these people saying this is an erasure of Asian culture and Japanese culture, the Japanese have already appreciated this story.
It's so dumb. They're so dumb, Jason. They're dumb and racist.
They're not like, no, we're not going to watch Afro Samurai because that's just an erasure of our culture.
You know, and okay, now this is where I'm gonna get real woke here for a second. This is what we talk about when we're saying we're dying of whiteness, where the idea of dying of whiteness is that white people are going to inflict damage upon themselves to spite the helpful and advancement of other minority groups. And literally, because this is a black person that was supposed to get better representation for other black people who are playing this game, we are now trying to rob ourselves of a seriously dope story about a black samurai who's apparently escaped a slave ship and became a samurai.
Right.
That sounds super cool. But no, we can't have that, apparently, because of DEI.
Well, and the main reason is literally what you heard from 8-Bit Eric and Britt Cooper, and what you're saying now is it's just a cool idea for a game. And the fact that it is rooted in some grain of historical fact is great. Like, that's your in. That's what allows you to create this character. It does get attention. And Britt Cooper was all into it. She doesn't play games.
We'd even talk about the fact of her thumbnail where she actually is shown holding a samurai sword and like having the stupidest look on her face. Like, cool, again, you're doing the racism in your video. Stop it.
Now, and one thing I have not heard enough about in all of this outrage against Ubisoft for daring to have the audacity to have a black character in an upcoming game is all of their terrible practices as a video game company. The fact that there is like the deluxe edition of this game is going for like $130.
That's insane.
And that's the only way you get actually access to the whole damn game.
Yeah, and
that's
they've also been pioneering things like season passes now, where it's like
it's a lot of games have been doing that,
and it's just ridiculous.
And then you'll have all these microtransactions in the game where kids end up spending hundreds or thousands of dollars to play a game. And as someone who is a gamer and has been a gamer my entire life, I love video games. It's insane these days. Just the cost of any game is ridiculous. And these companies are, one, working their workers to death, not paying them nearly enough, and they're charging just insane amounts of money for these games. And the upfront cost is really just a lie these days.
Right.
Oh yeah, it's $70 for this game. But if you want this story and you want this piece, well, that's going to be another $60. And then, well, you like these cool cosmetic things that are in the game, huh? Well, those are all $10 a piece, $20 a piece. That's insane. And it's manipulative, and a lot of it is gotcha, like basically gambling for children.
Yep.
Which should be illegal.
Yep.
And those are the kinds of things that we should be talking about when we're critiquing these video game companies, not the fact that they want to use a historical figure in their game because you don't think that person belongs in the place and time that the game is set, even though historically they were there. And that's what makes me really angry when it comes to this, because there's a lot to be upset about in the current video game industry.
And it's just being ignored because of stuff like this.
Because girls are playing games now, or minorities are featured in games, or there's a character whose sexuality I don't agree with.
Or there's just slightly less revealing clothing, for God's sakes. I mean, dude, okay, I know jack about, what is it called, Stellar Blade? Mm-hmm. I know jack about that game, but my feed is inundated with...
It just seems like a pervert game to me,
well,
honestly.
my feed is inundated with videos about the butt physics of that game. And that is insane to me. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you guys, get a life.
Right. It's like a game for 12-year-olds to jerk it to. Like
it really is.
They had that, I remember years ago, the Dead or Alive beach volleyball game.
Oh, yeah.
Stellar Blade's just that.
Yep, basically.
And because one character outfit was not as revealing as it was in the trailer, people literally were returning the game and saying that it was a scam and it was misrepresented. Even though the game is still the jerk off game.
She's just not naked. My God.
And that's what we're upset about, and not all of the horrible practices in the video game industry. But we will, if you are curious about the history of the actual historical person, Yasuke, we do have a Smithsonian video that will include in the show notes that you can watch.
It's pretty cool.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? It's hard to get any word in with this clown.
Let's move on to our main segment. Did Joe Biden, I'm just asking questions, all right? But did Joe Biden try to have the FBI assassinate Donald Trump? Again, I'm just asking questions, right? I'm not a journalist. I'm just trying to be fair and balanced.
All this video game talk. Is Joe Biden Hitman Agent 46?
Oh, ooh, what a reference. I don't have one to come back with. I had Tails from Sonic the Hedgehog come to my head. I can't make this work.
Did Joe Biden hire a black samurai to kill Donald Trump?
With butt physics?
Historically inaccurate.
I'm going to love the fact that people are skipping to the main segment and then they just hear that. That's what makes me real excited.
Like, I don't want to hear about this video game garbage.
Apparently, according to Donald Trump, conservatives and Republicans, yes, that is what happened.
They just missed him.
Barely or something.
The FBI could not take down a 78-year-old man, or however old he is.
He's younger than Joe Biden.
Yeah, slightly younger than Joe Biden.
And that's why he's leading in the polls. Well, let's ask Trump what actually happened.
According to his post once again to Truth Social, and I'm so glad I get to look at that stupid avatar with the flag over his lumpy face. Wow, I just came out of the Biden witch hunt trial in Manhattan, the Icebox, and was shown reports that crooked Joe Biden's DOJ, in their illegal and unconstitutional raid of Mar-a-Lago, authorized the FBI to use deadly, lethal, in case you didn't know what deadly meant, lethal force. Now we know for sure that Joe Biden, who I constantly say is sleepy and doesn't do anything, is a serious threat to democracy. I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever you say to me bounces off and sticks to you. He is mentally unfit to hold office. 25th Amendment.
Oh, there it is.
My own staff kept bringing that up to me all the time.
Now I get to say it. Also, that last half of that was all in caps, by the way. And I said...
unconstitutional, the U and the C.
Yeah, that's what I said whoa to. I'm like, whoa, that is a crazy way of capitalizing. Like, there's already things where, like, was shown reports, and reports is capitalized. The I in illegal is capitalized.
He capitalized Icebox.
Well, okay, but that could be like a name at least. Like, that's still wrong.
Someone's name.
Or like a name of a place. I don't care. Like, raid is capitalized, but the C in unconstitutional is a new one for me.
Yeah, he has a different grasp on grammar and punctuation than most of us. I think deadly and then lethal is in brackets.
Yeah.
Deadly, lethal in brackets, in case you didn't know. Force. Like, he didn't know. What's the other word? I don't. That means they were going to kill me, right?
And after that, the conspiracy spread like wildfire, including making it to Steve Bannon's War Room podcast, calling the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago a supposed assassination attempt.
When they knew he wasn't there.
Yeah.
I'm jumping ahead. Sorry.
Marjorie Taylor Greene also tweeted out saying, I made sure that he knew. The Biden DOJ and FBI were planning to assassinate President Trump and gave the green light. Does everyone get it yet? What are Republicans going to do about it? I tried to oust our speaker who funded Biden's DOJ and FBI, but Democrats stopped it. Christina Bobb, Trump's incredible 8th string attorney, recently tweeted out saying, WTF, they were prepared to kill me? A few dozen FBI agents v me, and they were ready to kill me? What in the world happened to the United States of America?
Somehow she miraculously survived.
I know.
This
I can't
attempt
believe
on
it.
her life.
And just for fun, she's also the attorney that signed the statement that falsely said there were no more classified documents at Mar-a-Lago when the archivists were asking for them back. So, cool.
And that we even know now after this raid, 4 weeks later, they actually found more documents in Trump's bedroom.
Yep. So, did Biden use the FBI to try to assassinate Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago? No. No. This is stupid, Jason. No. But now we have to explain it, and I'm angry that we have to. From what I can tell, and I'm not even going to pretend to be an expert because we're not, right?
Right.
We're
So
not.
what we hear from other people.
Right. This was standard boilerplate language that is used in nearly every single FBI operation.
It authorizes them to use justifiable force to carry out this warrant.
Well, and Attorney General Merrick Garland was even asked about this during a press conference, and we'll let him explain it as well, because he knows more than we do.
Couldn't even be in the Supreme Court.
What a loser.
Most of us got a solicitation email this morning from the former President of the United States saying that the Justice Department had authorization to kill him during the Mar-a-Lago raid. First, can you give us some clarification on that particular point that he's making and whether or not deadly force is authorized in other interventions, including the search of Mr. Biden's residence and office? And the second question is,
Can I do one at a time? Okay. On that one, that allegation is false, and it is extremely dangerous. The document that is being referred to in the allegation is the Justice Department standard policy limiting the use of force. As the FBI advises, it is part of the standard operations plan for searches, and in fact, it was even used in the consensual search of President Biden's home.
So there you have it. Not only was this just standard boilerplate language, this was also used in the same raid against Joe Biden.
And also, there is the fact that this was all negotiated ahead of time between the FBI and Donald Trump and the Secret Service. They knew that the FBI was coming. Donald Trump was not there at the time. That's why there was a team of lawyers, including Christina Bobb, who is now claiming that she was afraid for her life.
Right.
She didn't just show up there and like, oh, the FBI's here. Oh, what great timing. I can talk to them about what's going on with this search warrant. It was all coordinated ahead of time, so everyone knew what was going on. That's why the FBI showed up in mostly plain clothes, because that was negotiated with Donald Trump. He did not want people at Mar-a-Lago to know that there was an FBI raid going on. That's why there was news media there, because they knew about this ahead of time.
Shocking, right? So that settles it, right? We're done?
It would if conservative media was not just literally a propaganda arm of the Trump campaign, who will knowingly lie to further his agenda and to try to get him elected, and then gaslight you and tell you that, no, you're wrong. So in that spirit, let's read a tweet from Dan Bongino.
What is he on? Is he on Newsmax?
He's got his own show somewhere.
It just says the Dan Bongino
Yeah.
show. It's listed. His bio is public enemy number one. Shut up. Jesus Christ, dude.
This is absolutely a big deal. Don't buy the bullshit otherwise. It was not a standard op. The Mar-a-Lago raid was an unprecedented action with significant potential for confusion and blue-on-blue issues. God, I only wish.
All this blue-on-blue crime.
It also involved competing equities between federal agencies, the FBI and the U.S. Secret Service, with equal statutory claims to interrupt the other's activities. Shut up, you liar. Anyone telling you otherwise is either dumb or playing dumb. I've done more deconfliction with Russians in a foreign op I did for the U.S. Secret Service. Yeah, cool, bro. And they all stood up and clapped. Than the FBI did in their search warrant at Mar-a-Lago. Only a dumbass would pitch the "it's the standard paperwork" line. Because that's the truth, I guess. Go serve a search warrant at the White House in the cocaine case while you're filling out your standard paperwork and see how that works out for you.
I don't
Wake
even,
up.
I
Yeah,
don't even
what
get-
does that mean?
How does that connect to what we're talking about? If I get a search warrant for the White House for cocaine, I'm going to get shot by the Secret Service for protecting the cocaine. I think, but I can't get the search warrant because they're going to hide it.
And why would you get a search warrant for something that was already found months ago? A year ago?
I don't know, man.
It makes no sense.
Jason, maybe we're just dumb. My brain can't handle it.
Yeah, I think
They're
might
playing 8D chess right now. We can't handle it.
I might be on a different intellectual wavelength than Dan Bongino for sure.
Speaking of intellectual wavelengths, we're going to talk about Tim Pool because he also did his usual BS, including completely misunderstanding and misrepresenting a Washington Post article. Now, I didn't include this, and I'm glad you ripped into Dan Bongino so much. Because the way he introduced this story was, all right, so this thing happened, and then the debate began. Some people are saying that this is nothing, and that's just standard protocol, and all the experts are just saying that this is what it is. But Dan Bongino says otherwise. So this is Tim Pool trying to tell us why this is different than any other FBI operation, and also gets really angry at the Washington Post.
But I wouldn't say personally that I think their intention was purely to take out Trump. But I think it was part of the, well, if it happens, right? Conduct a raid, authorize deadly force, unmarked police, and if Trump shows up, we don't know. Now, there are people who are like, yeah, but Tim, it's standard protocol. Not for a president. It's all unprecedented. You don't do it. It's got to be done in different ways. Hannah Knowles, who's a liar, says a former president falsely accusing a successor of and rival of posing a threat to his life is without precedent in modern U.S. history. This is not a news article. This is an opinion piece from the Washington Post, unlabeled as opinion. Trump email falsely says Biden was locked and loaded to take me out. Actually, that's a fact. Biden's DOJ were authorized, locked and loaded to take out Trump. That's a fact. How are they saying it was false? Because they are liars. I am not saying I can tell you definitively they wanted to kill Trump. What I am saying is the Biden DOJ authorized the use of deadly force at Trump's property for which Trump may have arrived. They didn't know. So, yes, that's true. A former president falsely accusing. These people are evil.
This evil media, man.
He might have been there. They didn't know, except that they did know that he wasn't going to be there. He purposefully wasn't there.
He goes on to say, like, okay, so what if he wasn't there? His family could have been there, man. Okay. Were they going to attack the FBI agents?
Right. Like, that's why deadly force is authorized, in case someone attacks them.
This is wild, coming from the law and order side.
Right.
That
would not blink an eye if they mowed down like 50 black people in a raid. The Breonna Taylor.
Yes.
That was a completely ginned up search warrant executed in the middle of the night, and they ended up killing someone who was completely innocent.
And they blamed her.
And it's her fault. And they had no problem with that.
No.
That's all part of the job. But a pre-negotiated, like the most white-collar, white-ass shit ever.
Right.
Where the FBI tells you when they're coming, they schedule a time ahead of time, and you can negotiate. I don't want people showing up in, FBI jackets. I want it to look just like, maybe we've got some maintenance or something going on. There's just people coming in. Oh, they were wearing plain clothes just purely to assassinate him.
Right. Well, again, first off.
And we see the pictures. There are not people coming in there with like assault rifles.
I know.
We have the video.
I know.
The reality does not match what these people are saying, and they're telling us that we're lying.
I know. So, okay, first off, I hate Tim Pool because this show.
Fuck him and his beanie.
Well, that too. This is just another perfect example that he just talks completely out of his ass and has no clue what he's talking about because he's just getting basic facts wrong. So that's already number one. But what I hate way more than that is the constant conspiracy theorizing and this always like ulterior motive crap and just trying to sow distrust in everything crap. Because you heard that in the first clip where it was basically saying, well, they didn't try to kill Donald Trump. I don't believe they tried to kill Donald Trump. And like that should have been your period, end of story. But because he has to just wink and pander to these crazy nut jobs on the right, he then goes on to say, but like if he was there, who knows? What do you mean, who knows? You can't just say that and pretend you're an intellectual.
Anyone who thinks Tim Pool is an intellectual also might have their beanie on a little tight.
And also, Tim, and this is also a reason why I wanted to include this clip at the end about his Washington Post hate. Yes, Donald Trump has indeed been fundraising off of this entire conspiracy theory. He has sent multiple emails and texts saying that he barely made it out alive and that you need to donate to protect him so that he can help you. In several emails that have been documented, even in that story that he supposedly hates, Donald Trump's campaign said, quote, Biden's DOJ was authorized to shoot me. Also saying, Joe Biden was locked and loaded, ready to take me out and put my family in danger. Another one says, they're just itching to do the unthinkable.
Hide classified documents? Oh, no.
There is no way Tim Pool is that stupid. Nope, I take that back. I
don't know about that.
I take it all back. He is absolutely that stupid.
Yeah.
But context matters,
I don't
man.
think Dan Bongino is that stupid. Dan Bongino is that much of a grifter and that much of just a mouthpiece for Donald Trump.
Tim Pool is just an idiot.
Tim Pool is just dumb.
When Donald Trump says multiple times, I nearly escaped death, he is completely and falsely mischaracterizing the situation.
And that Joe Biden, the President of the United States, the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, the entire Department of Justice, and the FBI
is all in cahoots.
And they're trying to kill him and his family. That is an extremely dangerous thing to say.
And that is a good segue to our last point, which is what the real problem is with this. This is just another conspiracy theory, purposely, and I say that intentionally.
And cynically, Donald Trump knows.
Of course he does.
Because him and his lawyers were the ones negotiating this.
Yes.
He does not think that the FBI tried to kill him.
Correct. But this was purposely designed to further erode trust in our institutions. I mean, you saw how Tim Pool was acting during that, and that's also why I wanted to include that in this segment as well. Again, just the theorizing of saying, well, maybe they did something. Wink, wink. I don't know. I'm just asking questions. But then even when he was talking about the Washington Post, he ends it with saying, God, these people are just evil.
Yeah. Look at how much they will lie to you. Not like me. I tell you the truth.
And for the record, I have plenty of qualms with the Washington Post. I have plenty of issues with lots of media outlets.
And law enforcement and the FBI.
But the way that headline was worded and how the article is written is not the problem. And in fact, I argue that's a good way of doing journalism because so many journalists today are terrified of calling a spade out of absolute fear of getting slammed by Republicans and conservative idiots like Tim Pool. So they try saying that, oh, we're just left leaning. Oh, I want to be seen as fair and neutral. So I'm just going to try to give credence to both sides, even though they know one side is complete BS. This is what real journalism is actually, hey, this thing happened, and by the way, he was totally making it up when he was doing that. That's crazy,
This is just obviously a lie coming from the former president, and it is unprecedented.
Yes!
When else has this happened in history, where a former president has told the American people that the current president tried to assassinate him?
Exactly. Well, and go back to Tim Pool's thing again, where it's like, well, this is not standard operating procedure. This is unprecedented when it comes to the president.
Yeah, because we've never had a president who's been this openly criminal before. Like maybe since Nixon, but he was pardoned for that pretty quickly. Beyond that, yeah, there is no precedent for this because this has never happened before. We've never had a president that has purposefully hidden classified documents from the government and refused to return them when asked for it.
And I'm going to say it again and again and again. Even the Republican investigator who was looking into Joe Biden, Robert Hur, that tried to call him a doddering old man or something well-meaning old man who can't remember things. What Trump did was so bad, even he had to compare what Joe Biden did to Donald Trump's ineptitude and complete intentional misleading of the archives to show like, hey, by the way, what Trump did over there was actually criminal and that's really bad. What Joe Biden did was nothing compared to that. And that's like a Trump supporting Republican who said that. This is not news. This is not surprising. It's just made up fantasy garbage. And it's getting mainstream outlets constantly on Fox News. I mean, Jason, I could have pulled so many damn clips from the Five.
Janine Pirro,
Fox and Friends. Maria Bartiromo has been on like an insane tyrant or an insane rant. Even Jesse Waters has been going crazy with this thing as well. Like they've been playing
New Tucker Carlson.
Right. They've been playing it nonstop. And that's one of our major news outlets.
Fair and balanced.
That is the most watched cable news outlet in the country right now. It's a completely made up conspiracy theory.
And it's meant to violently rile up Trump's base. The exact same thing that he did on January 6th.
Exactly like how it was.
And it puts us in the unenviable position of having to try to defend the FBI.
I know. That's what I put that note in there. I'm like, why are you making me defend the FBI? I don't want to defend the FBI.
It puts FBI agents' lives in danger. Just like we saw after January 6th with the guy that went to the FBI office in Ohio.
Yep.
And literally tried to kill FBI agents because he felt they were part of the deep state that stole the election. And again, this is explicitly saying the FBI is part of a criminal organization, which so far I'm good, that is trying to assassinate Donald Trump. Now, what would you do then if you're one of these people that wholeheartedly believes this conspiracy? And you might also be an ammosexual who has your own stockpile on your ranch or your compound.
And you also have Donald Trump's campaign constantly bombarding you with messages saying, help us stand up against this.
It's a very, very dangerous situation. And the person creating this lying to, one, get money, and two, try to galvanize his support ahead of the election might very well be our next president. That is frightening. And tell me once again, who is the threat to democracy?
I completely agree. So don't let anybody get away with this garbage. And don't let anybody get away with, well, I'm just asking questions. You don't know. No, we do know. We actually know a freaking lot. They're lying to you straight up. And instead of maybe asking stupid questions about things that we already know the answers to, you should maybe have them start asking the questions about why would someone like Donald Trump and Fox News constantly be lying to me about stuff like this? Because if something like that happened to me and I found out that I was being consistently lied to by people like Tim Pool and Dan Bongino and all these other garbage influencers, I'd be pretty pissed.
And we will be taking a break next week, unless I guess Donald Trump goes to jail.
Then we got to talk about it.
Yeah, but otherwise, we will see you in 2 weeks.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for listening. We hope to see you in the next episode. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter at ThinkProPod. You can email us at thinkpropod@gmail.com. And remember, when in doubt, think progressively. Hello, and everyone. Wow.